Okay, I've got some sound, and I'm so sorry about the technical issues that occurred today. As promised, I've got that set and fixed with the folks at Zoom. So what I'm going to do here is to, and this invitation, I'm just going to go ahead and delete it because it's not valid any longer. And I'll be posting the link to this recording. So what I'm doing, as I promised, is I'm going ahead and doing a report. And I'm counting everybody in as far as it being here for attending. And I do appreciate it. I'm so sorry not being able to hook my machine up, even though I have a new machine with the new fitting, so I can show it to you on the on the overheads on the screen. I have no control over, and some glitch occurring at Zoom I have no control over. So I'm doing the best I can here, and please do accept my apology about this. I hate to waste your time, and I know it's valuable. Okay. Now, I'm going to go down to the modules, and let's take a look at what we had going on today. And we're here at week 4. Okay. And you have a couple of exams that are due. And then you have lunches database 1, 2, and 3 are due. And I have gone through those cases. And so here's what I'm going to do, because you have, of course, you should have uploaded these already. And I'm going to take a look. Yeah, it looks like everybody has. Let me check 3. Check LD3. And so we've done all 3 of those. So you should be in good shape as far as that goes. So we're ready to go ahead and move on. And before I do, I'm going to work us ahead to Lunches Database 4 today, which is going to be Chapter 4 in your textbook, in the Patrick text. Okay? And as you see each week, and we may cover 5, but I basically will, I will cover what I need to keep you going. But you do have these additional resources that I'd like you to take a look at. And this is just, again, this is curated material to help you put into context what we're doing in here and why you're spending money on this course. And I think that's fair for you to know that. Okay, so let me grab that textbook here for just a minute. I'm over here in my office at school, and I'm so again, I'm so very sorry that we had the technical glitch. This has been the worst semester since I've been here in terms of having technical issues of one kind or the other. And it's just these things happen, and there's just really nothing that that we can do about it. We just have to live with it, and work around it. And I'm not going to criticize anybody. There are a whole host of reasons why these things may not work. All righty. Grab this, and remember, now we're in the Patrick text, and we're going to be working on Lunches Database 4. And if you'd like to get an overview each time of, well, what do they cover in each chapter, that's a pretty simple process. Just go over to the contents, the table of contents, and it will outline it for you, or cue right over to the chapter, and you'll see an overview of the chapter. And it's probably not a bad idea to do that and to read the preface to the chapter or the introduction, because we're working on specific types of queries. And what's happening is, and as you would guess, We're just simply building up, moving from one level of complexity to the next. Okay, and that's just something that, you know, that's just part of how we do all of this. Now, again, if you were to ask me of these extra, I'd be hard pressed to say which of these I think is the most valuable or the most important. I would say this, all of them are interesting. I find this one interesting. They have some fantastic data. But this one, in terms of just your business, is the visual information seeking mantra. Let's just go there for quickly and let's visit that and see what that's all about. I got a bad title there. There, okay. There it is. The InfoViz wiki. All right, we'll go right over to it. And we'll get some information, and got a thumbnail there. And apparently they've changed that. Let's try this. And they've done some updates for this material. And and so it's par for the course, isn't it, that this link wouldn't work. So to what I'm going to do here for just a second. Close that off, and as I would guess, I'd get this type of information. So let's do this. Let's just do a quick search. This is a data admin course, and we've got the world's greatest search engine in front of us. And the visual information seeking mantra. And this is supposed to be the InfoViz at Wiki. And I think we'll take this, the surest path to visual discovery. Okay, this will work. And this is an overview of the issues that we run into when we try to deal with so much, when we try to address so much detailed information. Stephen Few is the author of one of the textbooks from 1123. And we'll pop back over here. And they've got the mantra of visual information seeking. Let's take a look at this for a minute. Okay. And they give us an overview, and they walk through the mantra here. And this is just basically the process or the way that we go about seeking information. And here's the key part that I wanted you to see. And I probably should go ahead and incorporate this into the resources. This is the types of data, the 7 types of data, okay? And then the 7 tasks, all right? And then he speaks about what we call the pursuit of insight, okay? And so what we're looking at data types versus tasks that we do when we look at data. And as you would guess, there are really 49 different ways that we can look at data. And so we have to make a decision on what works best. And that's why in the business problem analysis course in 1123, I used Stephen Few's textbook, Show Me the Numbers, so that you could see so you can see the kinds of challenges presented to us when we work with different types of numbers, and that we have to make certain that if we're going to use graphics or what people call VISs today, visual graphics or visualizations, or a VIS, V-I-Z, that you present the data in as compelling a fashion as possible, but in as clear a fashion as possible. And there's a lot of stuff out there that just doesn't make any sense to people. And people are so trained to really the basics. Line charts, bar charts, pie, those are the staples, or seem to be the staples. Of course, now with the use of the ability to do mapping, people are becoming more and more accustomed to seeing maps. Of course, they've been seeing data mapped when they watch the weather every day all their lives. Now, again, let me pop back over here so you can see the authorship on this. It is a PDF, and it's from the Clark Science Center. And so what I probably will do is go ahead and they give us an overview, and they show us, this is an older article, of course, and goodness, it's all the way from back to 2010, but it deals with issues that are quite true. And here they show us an overview of a mapping where we're trying to look at, I'm not quite sure what they're after there. And because I can't tell that, I guess they're looking at maps, travel or locational data of different end users. But yeah, it's a shot of geotime, and they use that as a, they're talking there at the top of that about the proximity principle. We tend to see grouping of individual items, etc. Well, that being said, okay, this is certainly worth taking a look at and nicely laid out. So this PDF, it looks like it's under fair use, so I will probably include it, but at least you've seen it. And again, it's the Manual of Information Seeking at the Clark Science Center. Okay, now let's go back into the modules. As you see there, again, 7 types of data, 7 types of ways to view it. All right, and I'll go back here one more time because I can't emphasize this enough. And now, you say, what has this got to do with data admin? It has everything to do with data admin, because notice that we've got data types, and notice the prominence of the word dimensional. And we've talked about tables, dimension tables, versus, and they have temporal data like facts, okay? Network data or tree data that are facts. So we have those two in combination, and so then we have an overview. That might be we see the whole table. We zoom in, we filter, we get the details on demand. For example, we open up a database, or we open up a dashboard, clicking, away we go. So you can see these processes, and that's really what we're going to be doing as we work through these chapters. Okay. That gives you a nice overview. Now, it looks like everybody's done, or practically everybody has done the, has uploaded Lunch's database 1, 2, and 3. I'm just going to pop in here real quickly to see how many people we have. Oh, we got 2 or 3 that haven't done that yet. So you'll need to do that. And we're going to go down now to chapter 4. And that will be the week of the 25th and the 27th. And you have 3 things due: Lunch's database 4, Lunches Database 5, and Lunches Database 6. Now, as usual, you'll see that I have curated some links for you, and these follow a theme of disaster relief. And again, I think there's some great material here, and you'll see the Southern Baptist Convention, and they're heavily involved in disaster relief, as is the Baptist General Convention of Oklahoma. And if you've had a class with me, I've shared with you my personal experience working with them. And not only are they caring and compassionate, and not only do they love the Lord, they demonstrate it by being fantastic at what they do. They're incredible. And so I was very happy. It was a great testimony to so many people. Our church was kind of the triage when that happened, the tornado that hit in 2013. And the BGCO, in fact, also the North American Mission Board was out there, and they were fantastic. What a blessing to see them in action. All right. Well, now I've gone on and on here. So we're ready to take a look at chapter 4. And you should have and as you follow along, as I said in class, you ought to have the Patrick text, the John J. Patrick text, SQL Fundamentals with you and available. And I'm going to pop over to chapter 4. Okay. And we're going to see some exercises that we're going to be dealing with. And this chapter covers saving your data in a view. And if you look over page 153, they're going to say saving your results in a new table or view. Now, let's talk about that for just a moment. The authors do a pretty good, a fairly good job of explaining this. A table is where we collect data, and we collect dimensional data, and we may have also factual data, and we have a particular name for that table. We use pure dimension tables, are those we use to create a drop-down menu, as you've seen in 1123. And we typically have a form of some kind that fills out that fact table. Okay? Now, when we have a view is the result of us running a query on a table. Now, it's called a view because we're not looking at everything. We can look at everything in the table. But even though we're just looking at an image or a picture. We haven't created a new table or a new subtable when we run a query. And that's why this is such powerful technology, because what we save when we save a query is the code. The result set, and think of it like this, you have a photo and you can Photoshop it and you can make it look like anything you want to or extract any kind of information from it. And it's the same with this process. And that's why you'll hear people talking about, or why you'll hear that, saving your results in a new table or view. Now, you can create a new table if you want to save the results. The view will just simply be a view. So we're gonna come over here, and at the bottom of page 136, you'll see here that in chapter 4 that the authors give you a very familiar theme, okay, and that is the create tab, the 5 steps of running your query. And here at the top of 137, they have create a new table from a select statement, okay? And so let's do this. We're going to need to go over, you'll need to go over and get the Patrick student materials. Nothing new here. So let's go to the files area, and we'll find those. Okay? And you'll want to take the Patrick materials and download them to your desktop. All right. And I already have them on my desktop. Well, I did, didn't I? Yep. They got me the new computer today, so I don't. Oh, boy. Okay. All right. Now, I'm going to download this Patrick Materials. Forgot about that today. I'm going to put it here. I'm going to show it my folder. I'm going to diminish my, I'm going to get the materials over here. Okay. I'll close that off. And here we are. And we'll open them up. And I'm going to need to take SQL Fun, and I'll put it out here on my desktop. Okay, there it is. And I've got the code, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to open up, and I'm going to get the access code for Chapter 4. All right, that's the text file that has the code, and I'm going to put it out here on the desktop. Now, in order to make sure that everything is okay, I'm going to, first, I'm going to rename this. I'm going to call this SQL Fun Chapter, pardon me, LD4, Lunches Database, LD4, I'll put Harmon, and I'm good to go. Now, I've renamed it. I'm going to open it. Okay. This way I'll make sure that I don't have, I want to make sure that I don't have an issue in terms of saving it. Now, I'm going to save as, uploading it so it mistakes it. I say the database is an access database. Okay. And it says where you're going to put it. And I put it on my desktop. And I'll put save. Let's see, is this you want to replace it? Yes. Now what I've done is I've converted this from a temporary file to a file that's on my desktop, one that I'll be able to upload as I do my work. Now, as you can see, here's the reemergence of Cardinal Buddy once they've gotten me my new machine. There he is again in the Teton, smiling, although not happily after having lost some crucial games. It looks like he will again be eliminated from the playoffs. That being said, let's dive into this and we'll do some work. Now, here at the top of 137, we have a query. All right, and I'm going to open up SQL Fun. Okay, and then I've got the code for the chapter, and he gives us 4.1, and the 4.1 is that it's an Oracle and Access SQL that's going to show us, well, that's see the table. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a table from a select statement. Now watch what we're going to do. It says we're going to select employee ID, first name, last name, department code, okay? And watch this keyword into SECO section 0401 sales staff from employees. Okay, so here's what it's saying. I'm going to highlight it. We're going to select these fields and put them into this table, name, section 0401 sales staff, and I'm getting those fields that I'm putting in there from the employees table, and it will only be that, it'll only be where the department code equals SAL, or I think they mean sales there. So I'm going to copy that. Okay. That's the logic of what we're doing. This is how we, and I'll click create. And I'm going to click query design. Close this. And I'll go up here. I'm going to enlarge this just a bit. And Go down to the SQL view. And I'm going to click run. And it says you're about to paste 4 new rows. You're about to paste 4 rows into a new table. Well, what does that mean? What it means is we're creating a table. We're going to create a table, and we've got 4 records. So we'll put this in. All right. Now notice what happened up here. If you look up here in the top left-hand side, you see that the make table icon is hot. It went gray. Now let's look at the view and see what we got going on here. And there they are. We've got the employee ID, their first name, their last name, and the department code. Okay, and we're going to call this 4-1. Okay, it's 4-1. And let's just let's look at the design view and see what we've got going on. And notice this doesn't look too different than what we've seen before. All right, and here we had the criteria was that they were in the sales department, or maybe they're salaried employees. I'll have to look at the test. I don't remember, but we use that literal, that SAL code, and there it is. And there's the view. And then we'll go back down to the code, to the SQL view, and there it is. And just to be sure that you see how the query worked, okay? We selected these, I'll just highlight, we selected these columns or dimensions, okay? And we put them into this table. And we got that data, those columns, from this table, the employees table, and we filtered it we sorted it, and thus created unique records by choosing only those where the department code was SAL. So that's 4-1. Okay, and there at the bottom they got 4-1, see the table, and that's select everything. We did some of that yesterday. Now, here in 4 number 2, and we'll pop around here. Now, when he says dual, what he's saying is this. By the way, let me stop for a minute. If you look at page 136 in your text at the top, you'll see the beginning table and then the data we extracted running the query, and that's down there in 138. And then you'll see all those different notes that go along with the queries that we've run. Okay? Now, 4 number 2 is over on page 141. All right? And they talk about saving a name and all that business. And so we're going to look at this query. This is the top of page 141, and notice we're going to select these fields, employee ID first name, from the employees table. And this is where the department code equals salary, and we're going to order that by employee ID. Okay? And we're going to give this as the sales staff view. Okay? So here we go. And this is just simply a matter of saving it. We'll go back over here. We'll click create. And we'll go to query design. Close it off. SQL. And we'll run it. Okay. There's the results set. And they want us to save it as, we'll do this, we're going to save this as SEC 0402 SEC 0402 underscore sales underscore staff underscore view. And that's the query, and we're going to give it that name. And again, we've just named it now, and the beginning and the result table are they're the same as what we had before. We just called this a view. Now, he talks about the similarities between tables and views, but he also talks about the differences. And that's what I was alluding to earlier when I was talking about views and what they do versus a table, okay? And that's covered in 142. And because a view, when we create a view, we run a query, we just save code. We save enormous amounts of energy and space because we don't have to recreate a table. We just have the code and we save the code. And page 143 walks you through those differences about that. Now, over on page 144, and I'm just walking through the text, the author talks about deleting a table, okay? Now, folks, he has you use the drop table, all right? And that's down here, that's really 4-5. You'll see drop table. And if you want to do that, it's when the advantage of the GUI is you don't have to do that. You just click on it and you delete it. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to come down here. And you tell me which is going to be easier. I'm going to click a copy of that table just in case we should need it. But it's the 0405 sales staff. And I say this is the table to delete. Okay. And it's pretty simple. I just click delete and it's gone. That's all. That's the advantage of the GUI. You don't have to write code to get that done. And why would you do it otherwise? You're a decision maker. You're not a programmer. You're not a database administrator. You should be able to communicate effectively with those people, but ultimately, this has got to provide you data for decision making. In other words, all information technology is decision centric. If it's not, it's of no value or use to anybody. Okay, well and we talked about deleting a view, and just give you some. You can use the GUI to do those things, to copy and to paste or whatever you care to do. And he talks about layers of views and so forth. Over on page 148 and then 149, he walks you through a process of creating a view from a base table, okay, and then creating a second view, and then creating another one using he shows you one using the Oracle method, okay, and the other is using the Access GUI. And I mean, they're on page 148. It's like they tell select these fields from employees where the department equals salary, and you want to save it as a still, and you're going to basically run that and do a sales staff view, and then you can delete it. If you have the capability, let me say this: I doubt that when you go to work, you'll be able to. Well, I frankly doubt you'll be able to create or destroy tables, okay? You will be able to run queries. You will be able to generate views, but that's it. All right. And the reason being is that when you go to the trouble of collecting and storing data, you may need it at some point. And so you want to be very reluctant about getting rid of tables. Page 149 talks about preventative deletes. Oh, I put a star beside that. Do not. Stay away, stay away, stay away. Oracle has methods for preventative deletes. Talk to your database administrator before you do this. Now over on page 51, they talk about adding one new row to a table. Okay? And this one is where we're adding a row. Now let me say this, and I'm going to put it in the plainest terms possible. Page 152, they show you, and then on page 153, they show you the table before the changes, then the table after the changes. They show you the Oracle and Access method for putting data in all of the columns. They show you the Oracle and Access method for putting data only in only some columns. Let me stop you there. I think it's wonderful that we can do this with the code, but frankly, that's why God invented forms. That's why you have those. If you're adding data to a table, let's say you're going to update somebody's registration. Typically, they're going to talk to someone or they'll interact with your system, and they'll change that out. So they will provide the new data, a new address, a new phone number, or something like that. But the end user is not going to be running code. You'll have an interface, i.e. a form, where you do that. And a good example would be, you go to Amazon, you buy some products, and you change let's say you use your debit card, and you've gotten a new debit card. So we have a new expiration date, and maybe you have a new ID, 4-digit ID number, the thing on the back of the card. Well, you'll be asked to input that data, and that will update the record. Changing the columns, putting that, forms are designed, and you interact with them all of the time. When you want today, when I was putting in my username and my password in Zoom, in this futile effort to try to have class, what was happening was I was filling out a form, and it wasn't playing nice with me. It wasn't recognizing my password, and who knows why. But eventually I had to go back and call. After we all left class, I called and was talking to them, and here I am. I'm doing a Zoom recording. I got some help. And so it's, you have forms all around you. You use them, and so I frankly doubt that you're going to be running the code. But it's pretty simplest. It's pretty simplistic, and I'm just going to instead of running, I'm going to walk you through it. Here on page 152, this is the Oracle and Access SQL method 1, putting data in all the columns. This is pretty simple. Insert into. Now this is the name of the table, sectional 409 underscore foods. So we're going to insert into this table. And then we have some values. So we told the machine we got some values we're going to input. And here we're putting in text. And we have the text in single quotes. Okay. And then we have a number. And then we have a null. Okay. Now, it's far easier to put data into all of the columns if you're writing the code, I think, than it is only some of the columns. I'm not here, and you won't be there, to determine, which is easier. You're going to want to know some type of information, or you're going to want to have the information updated. And most of the time, end users or those who access things will be the ones who will change the data. Your customers will typically, if they log in or whatever, they'll update their data. They may call you and tell you some things have changed, but most typically you'll have a form there, as I've mentioned, that lets them do that for you. And then that's changed and saved in the table, like a new address if you move or whatever. Okay. And he walks you also walks you through the Oracle method for doing that, and some explanations of that, and some notes. And then he talks about the update. Okay. And here's in the middle of page 157, he gives you the basic structure of an update query. It says update table name, okay, and set column 1 equals value 1, column 2 equals value 2, and then the where, you have a where condition. So you're updating it, okay? You're identifying the column and the value. First column you're going to be working with, the second column, and the where condition, that is, what is it that triggers the update? All right, this is going to walk us down now to 411. So we're going to go over and find that, we're going to find that trusty notepad with code. And let's come down here. Again, most updates are going to be done by an end user or somebody authorized in the organization to make those changes. All right. Let's look at page one, at the top of page 158. And here it is. We're going to update. Here's the table we're going to update. Okay. And we're going to set the price equals price plus 0.10. So they're adding 10 cents to the price of these items. And then we'll have the price increase equals price increase plus 0.10. Now, if you look there, okay, at page 158, this will make a lot of sense to you. Now, we have the last piece, and this is the supplier ID, and this is the supplier IDs are JBR and FRB. Watch what's going to happen, okay? I'm going to update this foods table, all right? And I'm going to set the price, okay? And the price will be, will equal the price plus 10 cents. Okay, and I'm looking at the beginning table and I see the price. And let's take that very first row, okay? And, well, and it will equal the price increase plus 10. Okay, and where the supplier ID is JBR and FRV. And so we're going to do the following. Where's the table before the changes? And we're going to come down to broccoli. And notice that broccoli, the price is $1.10. We have a price increase of 5 cents. And then after the changes, we'll come to broccoli. The price is $1.10, a price increase of 15 cents. And they give us an explanation there for it because we've chosen those suppliers just on those IDs. So we're going to copy this in. And we'll click create and query design. We'll close it off, SQL, and we'll run that update query. It says you're about to update 4 rows. Okay, good enough. Now we'll click yes, and you'll see the update icon goes hot. and they show us the the table section 0411 after the changes. So I'm going to save this as 4-11. And we'll look at the top, and there we go. The price increase. Now this is the view. This is the results set. Okay. Now let's go over to that 0401 foods table and see what it looks like, and we'll see those changes. And here we are. And you'll notice the price increases. And you can see them by broccoli, each of those items. So we've updated the table. And then we can delete rows from a table. We can run queries to do that. The top of 160, they show us where we can delete section 402, 112 foods. And they show us the table before the changes and the table after the changes. And what we're doing is we're getting rid of any of these records that are linked to the supplier ID, CBC, or JBR. And if you look at the beginning table, you'll see they're in there, and the ending table, they're not. Okay? So as you can see, it's a lot easier and quicker at times for me to walk you through this and walk you through this process, just talking you through it, as opposed to just throwing in the code and doing it. Once you see and you start to understand what's going on, you can run the query and get the results set, which is fine. But the first order of business is to see this and to understand what we're doing. And we're going to delete any rows from that section 0412 foods table where the supplier ID is equal to, and that's what that N is, CBC or JBR. And we have the before and after of that table. And they talk about using the GUI, modifying data in the table with GUI, which is helpful. Now here's something over at page 164 I think is really, really good for you to see. This will show you what the Oracle Database Express Edition looks like. Okay? So you can get a feeling of how it looks, say, as opposed to Access or SAS or SAP or any of these other products that you'll be using when you go to work out there. Okay, and in fact, in the end of the course, I have a project where if you want, you can download the baby Oracle, I call it, and see what it looks like and run it and all that business. You can see it's got a little bit different look and feel, but the principles are all the same. And they say the same thing, using the Access GUI to change the data in a table. You can go into a table if you have that authority, and you can change it right there in the table. Or you could change the table. What's more likely is you'd change it using a form. If you have the permission to change, say, customer records, and a customer says, here's my new record, blah, 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 then you have the authority to do that. You go ahead and do it. Okay? Over in chapter, over there in page 167, 168, he talks about constraints. Okay? And a constraint means the data that can be placed in a particular table. For example, there in page 168, 169, they show you an example which shows you that two employees cannot have the same phone extension. And they show you the code to do that. Okay? And they show you in Oracle that you get a constraint error because you can't have two people can't have the same extension number anymore. And when you say, okay, every customer has your own unique record, okay, then that's a constraint and you can't violate it. And that's how we keep the records unique and how we make sure that they are. Oh, so if you've been following along with me in the text, you can see it takes you over to page 170 with the key points. And we've pretty much run through chapter 4, where we did some alterations and saving results and updates and that type of thing, modifying data. Again, many of those tasks are performed through a form of some type or the other by somebody who has the data and has the authority to do it. Now, let me say this. There are going to be those times where you might have to update a table with 10 or 20,000 records. And let's say, for example, that you had, let's say you've been in business for 30 years, you have a database, you have 20,000 transaction records with a company called Smith. And then Smith gets bought out by Brown. And so you're going to have to update that, or you're going to have to start a new set of tables with Brown, formerly Smith. That will be up to you. My sense is you're probably going to be better off just creating the brand new tables so that there's clarity in what's going on. But with the ability to go back and look at those Smith tables, but that's something that you would have to sit down and, depending upon your level of management, have a discussion with the IT people. But at least you could have an intelligent discussion as you're talking about, and they start using terms like, well, these are legacy data and on and on, and so that you understand what you've got and you can communicate with them effectively. That's what matters the most. Because you never know. Brown might come back and say, hey, we'd like to see everybody that was, who were customers of Smith. Give us the list of customers so we can approach them and say, okay, we've take them over. We want to do business with you, blah, blah, and that type of thing. Now, chapter 5. Now let's do this right now, okay? I'm going to do this. We've worked through, and I'm going to close everything. All saved. All right, and I'm going to close this off. All right, and close off the notepad. And now this is SQL Fun LD4. Right, and I'm going to upload it over here to I'm going to upload it over here to Canvas. And I'll look up here on the desktop, and there it is, LD4. Let me do something first so it's a better identifier on that. I'm going to rename this as key. Okay, and just to make sure, I'm going to open it up. And I'm going to save as. And I'll save it on the desktop. Place it. Yes. Now it knows for sure it's not a temporary file. Now I'll upload it. Over to desktop. And I've got my key. And there it is. Now I'm going to come over to the modules. And I'll show you all this on the 25th. In fact, what I'll do is I'll just add this to the module. There's that key. All right. And then I'll come up here and I'll just move this up. Okay. And there's the key for LD4. Now, while I'm here, let's talk for a moment about Chapter 5. Chapter 5 covers the data dictionary and other Oracle topics. This is a very valuable part of the text for you because it's really going to give you a picture or an overview of how Oracle builds tables, because that's what data definition is all about. Now, they're also, he's also going to walk you through a key concept, all right? And this is about changing data through a view, okay? And what that, and he has a nice schematic or set of figures that does this. If you look at page 180 and page 181, you're going to see, okay, exceptions to inserts, updates, and deletes, okay? And then you're going to see the conceptual diagram of a view and its underlying table. That one on 181 is exceptionally important. What this says is when we run a query and we're extracting some data from the table, we're getting a picture of the view, okay? What this implies is something quite important, and that is the larger the table, the more data that I have, the bigger the view that I get, the clearer I get. And that's why our ability to collect data, particularly what we call unstructured data, posts on Facebook, likes and shares and comments on Twitter and Yelp locations and all of these things, why there's just such a cottage industry of all kinds of different codes and scripts and software to collect that data is because then we can take it and use it to understand our customer better, to understand how transactions are carried out better, to have a deeper understanding of locational data that's relevant to our business, etc. It just really boils down to the law of large numbers, okay? Let me give you a real quick, easy example. Let's say that I tell you, I really want you to, I want you to go in the middle of the oval at OBU, and I want you to stand just flat on the ground and tell me what you see, okay? Or take a picture. And then I want you to get on a step ladder. You go up 5 steps. And let's say you have a camera and you can take a panoramic 360, okay? Then I say, okay, you have a drone. You take a drone and take a picture with that drone, okay? Then I say, okay, let's go to Shawnee Airport and let's get in a single engine and let's pop up a couple of 1,000 feet and let's get a picture. And then and notice what's happening. We are using the law of large numbers to our advantage. We're getting more and more data. Now, if our camera is not quite good enough to do anything except just get us a picture, that's okay, because eventually we're going to go up to the Landsat satellite and we're going to take a picture of the OBU campus from how many ever 100 miles up in the air, however far it is, and then it's going to be able to zoom down and get a license plate. Okay, that's what we can do with the with high-speed computing. These powerful databases that give us the ability to see the whole picture and then zoom right down in on it. And the decision maker, this is why I said earlier, you'll want to look at that introduction, information visual mantra, so that you see the 7 types of data and the 7 tasks that we do. So you understand those combinations that we can use to get information for decision making, get data for decision making, which is information. Now, page 182 walks you through that process of beginning table, a beginning view, change the data, ending view, ending table. Those components shows you a beautiful conceptual design, and they show you creating a shipping department view. And let me do this, okay? Well, when we do our virtual meeting on Tuesday, all right, I'll go through chapter 5 and chapter 6, and I'll try to remember to start with page 183, where we do the shipping department view, and then we just go ahead and change some datas, and we'll walk through that. Now, a lot of that starts to become where we're really playing around with some tables, and so it's going to be more of an explanatory thing than just simply a whole bunch of code that we're going to run. Okay, and you're going to be seeing a lot of Oracle code, for example, as opposed to Access SQL, and that's something that we'll talk about. So you will probably have a very, we won't spend a whole lot of time, but we'll spend a lot more time in terms of chapter 6, because this really is really focuses on Oracle and the data dictionary. And we'll talk about what does that mean in Access, and what are those things all about. Okay, I think we've made a little bit of progress, perhaps, I hope. And again, I apologize about the issues today. I'm so very sorry. This will wrap up for today, and I'll put this over in the announcements. I think probably what I'll do is I'll put this in the announcements, and I'll send it to you via email so you can see it. Thank you so much. My apologies. And hopefully we're going to move past this snake bit kind of run we've been on. Okay? Thank you, folks. Have a safe weekend. God bless you. Take care.